All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's open forum. This is something that we're going to talk about today that is one of you guys' favorite kind of deals. Who here is selling new homes or has been selling new homes or likes to sell new homes? All right. Cool. Um, awesome. Thank you, Carolina, Melinda, etc. All right, guys. Let's get started here with this. So, when we go to sell a new home, what are you bringing to the table? Do you guys have a hard time getting across to buyers? I've seen this, that you have a hard time getting across to buyers why they need to drag you to the new home builder, or why they need to at least let you work on this, not just put your name down, but at least let you work on this and actually help them with the deal. Some of you guys are doing this, and I've done it before. I've had somebody call me before, a good friend of mine who said, "Hey, I didn't know he was looking for a house. I didn't. He's just a friend of mine, and as you guys know, I'm not out there like you guys are right now as Johnny Realtor, Susie Realtor, trying to make a living doing this." But I had a friend who called me one day and said, "Hey, I'm buying a house. There's going to be a $22,000 commission. I put you down as a realtor. Will you give me half of it back?" And I said, "Of course." So I made $11,000 just by, I had to answer a few emails and whatever, but I didn't negotiate for the guy at all because he didn't tell me ahead of time. He went and he'd already put me down as the agent and signed the contract. So, and I know you guys have had those kind of deals before where your buyer says, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll write your name down and give me some money back," because they know a little bit about how real estate works. So, and that they're going to pay the same price with or without you, et cetera. So, but what are you actually doing? How are you actually creating value when you have someone who wants to buy a new home? How do you express what you can do for them, and what can you do for them? And a lot of you don't know. So I want to go through this today with you, talk about some of the things you can negotiate and can't negotiate, and how to express that. Most importantly, how to express that to a buyer, set their expectations, etc. So let's go through this, and you guys can ask me questions as we go or at the end. So let's get started. All right. Learning the outcomes. Know what's negotiable, what usually isn't. Use builder leverage, timing, inventory, competition, certainty. I don't know if you guys know this, but we'll go through this as we go. But there are different times of the year you get better deals, et cetera, just like buying a car, just like buying anything else. Negotiating beyond the price. We know there's more important things than just not more important, but there are equally important things in a contract, just like there is in an as-is or any existing home sale. Other things that are important besides just the bottom line price. Spot contract, process pitfalls that cost buyers the money. Run a repeatable 5-step negotiation framework. Okay, so have a system. Let's go on with this. Builder mindset and so this is what we're going to do. Pre-negotiation, intel, and leverage. The builder negotiation menu and scripts. Contract, financing, inspection, walkthroughs. We're not going to do the role play, but we're going to have a checklist recap. And you guys are going to leave here today with a checklist of what to do before, during, and after the sales process. So let's discuss the builder's mindset. They want to protect pricing integrity and comps. So you guys have seen them do this before. They will do anything to keep their comps up, right? Because they have to sell these houses. They have to get appraised. And they know that obviously appraisal is really easy in the neighborhood when your model that you're buying is the exact same as the one 5 streets down that sold for $499. So obviously yours is going to appraise for $499. They can't sell one for $499 and then 3 months later try to sell it for $549. It's going to appraise at $499. So they try to protect their comps at almost all costs. So a lot of times pricing is not something they want to negotiate on, but they will find other things. They want to manage backlog, cancellations, and timelines. They are not in the business of holding inventory. They are not in the business they call keeping it on their books. That's why you get great deals at the end of the month, into the quarter, and their quarter might not be the same as our quarter. They have fiscal years, fiscal quarters. So you never know what theirs is. And we're going to talk about that and how to find that out. Push preferred lender title for margin and control. They make money off the lending. It's just like a car dealership. They make money on your trade-in. They make money on your financing. They make money on your purchase. They're going to get you one way or the other. And everybody has. I talk quite a bit about car dealerships because they're so similar to any real sales process, but especially similar to new builds. So they have so many ways to get you that you go in there with a mindset of what we call what's your hot button, right? what is the thing? And so somebody will go into a car dealership and say, I am paying $5,000 under sticker price on this. I've researched the prices of these new, whatever they are, Mazdas or whatever. And I know that I'm going to pay X. They're going to want X amount. That's the sticker price. I'm only paying X. Well, that's fine, because they're going to get you on financing. They're going to get you on your trade-in. There's a million ways that they're going to get you. They're going to get you. Yeah, we can sell it to that if you buy our warranty. You know, you have to get in the warranty program if you're going to give you that $5,000 off the thing. So there's always some way that they're going to get you. It's the same with builders. They're going to push their preferred lenders and title for margin, and they like to control the deal, just like you guys have. When a buyer, at least in the Central Florida area, the buyers don't normally pay for title, but when they want to, it's because they want to control the deal, because it costs them money, but they find out they think that the control of the deal is more important than the little bit of money they're going to pay for title insurance. And they like to reduce risk. They value certainty. They value getting these things off their book. They want to know that they're going to get it done, or that they're going to get a healthy deposit if you back out at the last minute. So those are the things that they find very important for the builder mindset. And it's very important to know when you're negotiating, what your opponent finds important, right? That's the most important thing you can do in a negotiation. Find out what they really want. And that might be something that you can live with. So that's how you negotiate. And it's the same thing, no different with any builder. So what we find is what's negotiable and what usually isn't. Often negotiable: closing costs and credits, rate buy downs and points, design center and upgrades, appliances, blinds, landscaping packages, some terms and timelines, but not a lot, right? Because they want to control the deal. What's not negotiable: base price, especially in early phases of a subdivision, because they've got to set their comps and they want to set them high. Core contract structure, they're not going to do a lot of, you want to change stuff in their contract. Their contracts are usually 50 to 70 pages. And they cannot guarantee completion dates. They want to, they would love to, but they can't. And they know that they can't control that. And they can't have you backing out on October 31st when the house was supposed to be finished, because they won't have it finished for 2 more weeks. Now they're going to be stuck with that at the end of their fiscal year. Let's say a lot of times their fiscal year does end in October or something like that. So either their fiscal year or their fiscal quarter, they do not want to be done like that. So they are not going to guarantee completion dates. They can't have you backing out at the last minute because it wasn't done on time and getting your deposit back. So those are not negotiable typically. So and the reason I'm telling you guys this stuff, you can always try, right? But the reason I'm telling you guys stuff, so 1, you look like you know what you're doing, and 2, you don't give your buyers unrealistic expectations. Your buyer says, well, we've got to buy this thing by October. Well, let's find one that's going to be done in September or August if you've got to move in October, because we got to make sure that you're going to be able to do this. And I can't tell you for sure that this construction is going to be complete, that, and all these things. And if they go in with the same, I saw that these are selling for $499, I only want to pay $479, then you can say, you know what, let's do the $499 and I'll get you an extra $20,000 and upgrade somehow. Okay. Or credits, etc. So the builder negotiation menu, I love this: money, closing costs, lender credits, points, buy downs, stuff. This is just breaking it down for you differently, what we just talked about: upgrades, appliances, blinds, fans, landscaping, terms, deposits, contingency windows, addenda tweaks. Occasionally, it says sometimes, not very often. They don't like addenda to their contract. Process wins, inspection access, punch list commitments. A lot of people find that important, to give access for inspection. A lot of builders don't want to do it. They don't want outside inspectors. They say, we've got city inspectors, we got our own inspectors, and we're giving you a warranty. What do you want? A lot of times that's important to get your inspection access. Depends on your buyer. Risk reduction, change order rules, material substitution, appraisal strategy. All those things are negotiable to an extent. And those are the things that you can actually do. And it's, like I said, it's important to set these expectations with your buyer: things we can control and things we can't control, things we can ask for and things we can't. You're not going to get everything. So you give them this menu and you say, let's find out what's actually important to you, right? If you don't care about your appliances, we're not going to go and waste one of our negotiating, some of our negotiating credit on appliances, right? And when I say credit, you only have so much pull here. You only have so much power in this negotiations, and we're not going to waste it on stuff that you don't care about. And a lot of times, and we're getting into this a little bit, a lot of times it's if they come from, you have all different kinds of buyers. Some of them just want to enjoy the house. Some of them want to make sure it's a great investment. Sometimes you got one spouse wants one thing and one spouse cares about the other thing, right? So sometimes you have those things and you need to decide what's most important. So some of these things are, like some of these upgrades are to be enjoyed while you live in the house, and some of them are permanent. That will, when I say permanent, they will, when I sell the house, they'll still be that. So if I go in to buy a Chevy Tahoe or the upgraded version on the same chassis, the Escalade, the Cadillac Escalade, both GMs, both the same car, only one's fancier than the other. Yes, I'm going to pay $15,000 more or whatever now for that Escalade, but when I go to sell it in 5 years, it's still going to be worth $10,000 more. So I lost $5,000 for that extra comfort over that time. And that's kind of the mindset you have with these houses, except houses even more so, because this is where they're raising their kids. They're doing whatever. Maybe it's the last house they ever buy. And they're going to, they're elderly or whatever. And the standard of living is more important than the actual resale of the home. So it's important to get those things in mind when you start deciding what you're going to negotiate and what you're not going to negotiate. And go back to this page. When you decide which one of these is most important, if I'm going to live there for the rest of my life and I don't care about the rest, so maybe my upgrades, my stuff is important to me. I want nice appliances. I've had these, not so great appliances for years, and I finally want to get part of the main thing about a new house. I want new appliances, new blinds, new ceiling fans, nice landscaping, etc. Right? Or maybe it's just a money thing. Maybe it's the terms, whatever it is. And it all depends on their experiences in the past. If they've had bad situations with a builder before or with anything before, they're going to find they have hot spots. Every client has their important, their hot button issues, right? So where your leverage comes from, if they've got standing inventory, you're buying a spec home. You guys know what a speculation home is. It's a house they built to do it. Maybe you're buying the model when they're trying to close out of a thing. You guys have done that before. We've had lots of you guys sell the model home. And they'll have 3 or 4 model homes. Some of these neighborhoods, sometimes just one, and that's them leaving the subdivision. They've got no more to sell. They'll sell out of the subdivision. Maybe the houses aren't all finished yet, but they'll sell out and they'll sell you the model home. Of course, they're going to have to come in there and change some things because it's been set up as a model, but they'll sell the model home. Well, they'll sell the spec home. Spec homes are ones that they want to be available in 30 days. Sometimes you guys love those. And maybe that fits your client's needs, and you can also get deals on them because they've been sitting there. Timing, end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year. Competition, incentives across the communities. Sometimes there's another community right down the street, and you go show your client that too, and come back and work with both of these sales centers and tell your client, find out what's important to your client. Maybe your client really loves one, but you as a negotiator can come and talk to both and play one against the other. Their buyer strength, how easy are they to approve, and ability to close fast. Occasionally you'll entice them with a larger deposit to get more stuff. You be careful about that. Make sure your buyer knows the risks. Clean offer, fewer contingencies when safe. That's what I was just talking about. Reputation, repeat business, and professional process. So leverage all of that kind of stuff. If you've been selling a bunch of Lennars or DR Hortons or KBs or whatever, Ryan Homes or whatever you've been selling, let them know that, and they'll know that. But tell them I'm a great agent for you guys. Let's see what we can work out here, and I'll keep bringing people to you. It works particularly well with individual salespeople because they don't care so much about their Lennar homes. They care about Bobby, the sales guy, who's you're going to keep bringing me people. Absolutely. I'll see what I can do for you. And the same thing for that neighborhood with his boss, who he has to go talk to, is going to tell him, yeah, if they'll keep bringing us people here to my community. Absolutely. Makes me look good. Okay. Pre-negotiation intel checklist. And I'm going to have a checklist for you guys, but find this kind of stuff out beforehand. Get the current incentive sheet and eligibility triggers, right? So find out what incentives they're giving and how to get them, what you have to do to get them. So you're not misleading your client and telling them, oh man, they're giving out, $25,000 credits if you use their lender, and you go and you find out that they can't use their lender for some reason, or maybe that's only for a certain set of people. Find out what homes have been sitting for 30, 60, 90 plus days. These are questions you ask the attendant, the salesperson, the sales consultant, whatever they call them that are in the sales center. Understand the phase, early versus late, because pricing flexibility differs. Oh, sorry. I was trying to scroll down that page. Check competitor communities and incentives nearby. Find out what everybody else is offering. Play that against them. Clarify if incentives require preferred lender or title. Of course they are. Now, let me tell you a little bit about preferred lenders. And usually don't have a choice on title, especially in this area. Seller picks title, seller pays for title insurance, etc. But preferred lenders. Preferred lenders are in-house lenders. It's all similar, but not the same. In-house lenders are going to give you great incentives because they're making, if you think about lenders typically make about half of what you make on a sale. Okay. So if you sell a $500,000 house and you think 3%, I'm going to make $15,000. The lender typically makes $7,000 to $9,000, a little more than half typically. And I'm generalizing. Depends on what they do, other kind of stuff they do, but there's little ways they can tweak it and make more money as well. Or sometimes they give more money to get the business. Any lender that you talk to about an in-house lender for a builder, they're typically going. We've had them on here. We've had Tom on here. We've had Paul on here. Chad's spoken on here before. They cannot typically, and they'll just tell you up front, we can't compete with them if they're giving you $15,000 back or $11,000 back. That's more than we would make on the deal, right? So they will typically tell you that right away. Usually it's a better deal, but incentivize you greatly to do it. So confirm if price increases are scheduled and why. So what I'm getting at there is there's going to be good incentives typically for using their in-house lender. Preferred lender might be different. Okay, preferred lender is just somebody that will work with you a little bit. Maybe your lender will do better, or the person's their lender, their credit union, whatever might get them a better deal. Confirm if price increases are scheduled and why. Confirming that, they will often tell you that. Confirming it is difficult, but at least have them tell you that. Ask that question. They may not always tell the truth. When to negotiate the hardest? Inventory and spec homes give you the best leverage. That's what you want in these deals. Leverage is the word I was looking for about 6 slides ago when I said don't waste your power, your negotiating power on things. I was looking for leverage. Make sure you know what you're using your leverage for. But the best leverage is on inventory and spec homes. They want these homes off the book. End of the month and the quarter, they want them off the book. Manager approvals appear in those times because managers want them off the books. They know more than the salespeople, but they're getting that across to the salespeople that we want it off the books. After slow traffic weekends and weekdays, that is difficult to determine. You may want to ask just casually ask the salesperson that. Oh, how has it been lately? It's been a little slow. Good. I mean, you don't say good, but you're thinking good. After inspection findings, credit repairs and process win. So inspections are finding things, and you can ask for repairs, credits, those process things that we talked about, things you can negotiate. Typically, more inspections or punch list stuff. Avoid negotiating right after high traffic events. That means they're not good. They just did great. They're fat and happy, just sold a bunch of homes. They're not going to be that willing to drop things for you. But that's when this is all from best leverage to least leverage, right? Offer structure that gets a yes. I don't know about the cover letter with the bullet asks. I mean, people can do that, but define. This is what you talk about with your buyer. That's why you give them this menu. What are your must-haves and what are your nice-to-haves? Because I don't want to negotiate all your nice-to-haves and then we fail on a must-have, right? So I want to know in order, what is the most important thing to you? And you are on their side, and the buyer is obviously going to be honest with you because you're negotiating for them. What is must-have and nice-to-have? Are you guys already seeing how your buyer is going to like you and trust you going through this process and realize that they need you when you explain all this stuff to them? Things that they need to have. You're asking them all these things, what's important to them, so you can go get it for them. And these are things that they would not be able to do, things they would not know. You're not going to tell them, you're not going to give them this entire presentation and tell them all the things that are important so they can give them the keys to negotiating. You're going to do it for them. Okay. But let them know some of this stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I know that this subdivision, because I just went and talked to Maria 3 days ago. You might not say all this, but you just went and talked to Maria 3 days ago, and she told you they need to get rid of a couple of houses before the end of the month. Let's go do it. I mean, January 31st is coming up, and you guys might think, oh, that's not an important month. Well, for some of them, that's the end of their fiscal year. They don't do it the same as everyone else. They're not on the calendar, a lot of these corporations. All right. Trade language. If we can do X, we can do Y, that kind of thing. You guys know this. This is basic sales. Offer expires on blank. Require written confirmation of all incentives and conditions. All right. Top 7 high value asks, ranked from top to bottom. Rate buy down and points. That's a payment impact. Know what kind of rate buy down you're getting, guys, and be familiar with it and be able to explain it to your client. This is where your value comes in. You're able to know what a rate buy down is, the difference between a 2-1, which some builders are doing, and a permanent rate buy down, and find out if they'd rather just have the cash up front. When I say the cash, the credit up front, or if they'd rather do a rate buy down over time. Find out what makes sense for them. And a lot of times that's based on their life circumstances. A lot of times it's based on their credit. A lot of times based on different things. Closing costs. Easy for the builder to fund closing costs. Some of them are made up. They're just profit centers for the builder. Some of them are real, but the builder doesn't mind funding those as long as they keep their base price up a lot of times. I mean, guys, we've driven by subdivisions before where they're offering pools. Okay, you buy a house here, you get a free pool. I mean, how much profit is in that? How much are they doing? How much are they charging to be able to do that? They're keeping that price up and giving the credits. Okay. Design center credit, high perceived value with your client, but make sure it's important to your client. Okay. And you guys, for those of you who don't know, maybe you haven't sold a lot of new homes, there's a base price. Then they charge you for the design center and everything else. The base price is low, but by the time they get to, and that's what they're going to pay your commission on. So don't call me and say, hey, this builder is trying to just pay me on the base cost. It was very clear up front. It's in their paperwork. When they put you on the deal, they said we're paying you on your, and it's usually some weird number, 488, 212 is their base price. And then they add on all these design center stuff and all that. Hey, I didn't know you wanted countertops. That's going to be more. Oh, you want grass in the yard? That's a landscaping package, right? So these things, so be very careful and make sure your buyer understands every step of the process. They're not going to be paying 488, 212. They're going to be paying 549 by the time they get done. Okay, so make sure they understand all that stuff. Like appliance and blind packages. Oh, you want blinds? You know, like it says here, cheap for builder, valuable to buyer. The builder can buy 1,000 appliances, well, not 1,000, but 100 appliances at a time probably. They're going to get a contract for 1,000 appliances. So yeah, they can do it a lot cheaper than you can going to Lowe's, okay? Or what they're going to charge you for it, because they're going to charge you retail, but they're buying it for half that because they have a big contract. Obviously, there's lots of savings in bulk. Lot premium adjustments. One of the things that I always want you to do too is talk to them about the lots when you go out there. What lots do you have available? What are my premium stuff? Because you're never going to know, and that stuff brings value to a buyer. To know that stuff ahead of time as you're driving to it, as you're talking about it beforehand. You're talking about this new Lennar community where they have lots of lots that back. You guys said a big backyard was important. You guys wanted privacy in your backyard. This backs up to a conservation area or whatever it is, right? Price reduction, mostly inventory spec or stale homes. Stale means they've been, you can figure that out. It's just like bread. It's been sitting there a while. And the extended rate lock coverage, big for long builds. So the rate lock is from the lender. You guys know what rate locks are from lenders, but a lot of times for new builds, you'll lose your rate lock if you're not careful. If you're using your favorite broker, you know they can only lock it in for so long. And sometimes these houses take forever to build. It feels like forever. Sometimes it's, you guys have done them a year out before, 10 months out, 14 months out. So you guys know sometimes they do, obviously not on inventory homes, but on new builds. Okay, rate buy downs, how to explain to buyers. This is what we talked about a little bit. Builder pays points to reduce the interest rate. That's just a seller credit. It's just being used for that. The builder benefit lowers the payment, sometimes easier qualification. I'm sorry, buyer benefit lowers the payment and sometimes easier qualification. Obviously, you can buy more house. Confirm, is it a 2-1 or a permanent buy down? Oh, there you go. Is it a 2-1 or a permanent buy down? Know what a 2-1 is. For those of you who don't know, I'll tell you real quickly. Temporary, 2-1 is temporary. It's 2 points off the first year. So if they would got a 6 rate, it'll be 4 for the first year, and 1 point off for the next year makes it a 5. After that, it's over. So their payments will be lowest the first year, almost as low the second year, and then it'll be at back to 6% the third year, whatever their rate is the third year, and for the next 28 years. Okay. Confirm who funds it. Is it the builder, the lender, or both, and get it in writing? Obviously, anything you negotiate here, you want to get in writing. Obviously, your salesperson may take a job they're at Lennar today and KB Home tomorrow. They may quit. They may whatever. You don't know. Or they get overridden later. The manager may get overridden by corporate at some point. Just be careful about that. Or the lender will say, oh, they can't take this much credit. They only can take so much credit. Their lenders do have rules they have to go by as well. So negotiate credits, not item by item debates. Upgrades, negotiating value without overpaying. Negotiate credits, not item by item debates. Prioritize resale. So this is what I was talking to you about before. If it's someone who, there's different types of buyers that you have, just like you guys, different kinds of buyers for existing homes, right? Some of them care so much. They think it's this great investment, and they care about what we're going to resale. Almost like when you're talking to a seller, what are things I should do to this home to get the best value? Well, obviously you don't want to do things that are not going to bring back resale. So some people care more about resale, and some people care more about it being nice to live in. And you can do both, of course, but prioritize resale, structural, kitchen, baths, flooring, energy savings, etc. Avoid low ROI vanity upgrades. And this is standard advice, but not if that's what they want. If they want fancy appliances, they want that kind of stuff, then they can do that. But just make sure you're negotiating for what they want. So you've got to go, and this is great. This is a great thing to sit down with them, like I've been talking about with this negotiation menu. You sit down with them and you decide what's important. You decide what you want to negotiate for, and you don't just do it on the fly. You don't get what you want if you just show up unprepared to a negotiation, right? So you confirm change order deadlines and pricing rules. These are ways to negotiate value without overpaying. Confirm change orders. So change orders are things that they get you on. You tell them, oh, we changed our mind. We don't want that appliance. We want this. We want those blinds. We want this, that. Those are all change orders. And it makes sense that they charge you for them and what the pricing rules are on those. Deposits and change orders, protecting the buyer. Identify non-refundable deposits and the exact trigger date. I have seen you guys lose, not you guys, your clients lose a bunch of money. And some of it's because you should have, and sometimes they didn't know exactly how non-refundable it is. So you've got to identify these and make it very clear to your buyer. I would even send it an email, something that's very clear to your buyers, what is non-refundable and what is refundable, etc. Ask to delay the non-refundable milestone when possible. That's just protecting your client. Reduce risk, smaller deposit or refundable portion. Can I put a smaller deposit? Obviously these are all things you're negotiating. When one goes up, something else goes down, right? You only have so much leverage. So if you're going to not want to put a big deposit, don't expect a big, something else in return. Don't make a big ask in return. One thing you can say is, look, we're willing to do a big deposit. My buyer's definitely going to buy this house. We're going to do a huge deposit, but we want certain things in exchange. You're always negotiating, but you have to give to get, right? And you'll always, like I said, maybe on a stale home, on a stale inventory home, you'll do better with all of these. Confirm change order rules, deadlines, pricing changes, removal rules. And just like anything else, I was just telling you, it's a trade-off. If you take a stale inventory home, it is that home that they're buying. One of the things people like building, they like to order it built because they want it built to their order, right? They want it kind of custom as much as you can customize in a traditional neighborhood, but you can customize to some degree, right? That's what you do in the design center. So what you want to do is, you give and take. So this is the change order rules, deadlines, pricing changes. We just talked about that in the last slide. Removal rules. When you're going to change things later, when your client wants to change things later, they're going to have to pay. And that makes sense because the builder's got to change their plans. They got to change everything else. Preferred lender and title, play it smart. Incentives often require preferred partners. Use that as leverage. Get quotes from preferred and outside lender to compare. Preferred, yes, versus preferred, yes. It doesn't talk about in-house here, but in-house is going to be hard to beat, but preferred can be beat. Ask for full terms in writing, APR, points, fees, lock details. Talk about that extended lock and stuff. If they give you If they give you a 9-month timeline for building, what good is a 6-month rate lock? It's not. Be open, but only if net benefit is real. In other words, to some degree in a negotiation, you have to put some of your cards on the table and say, look, this is really important to my client that we get this. Because the salesperson has no way to know what's important to your client. You know, because you've met with them and you've talked to them about this stuff and you've gone over this menu and you've decided what's important to them and not. Builder contract gotchas to flag. Estimated completion date with broad extensions. Broad extensions will make your buyers unable to perform sometimes. They will make your buyers want to quit and they need a house. And they've got these broad extensions that are very, the terms are very loose of what's finished and what's not finished and when they're going to get their certificate of occupancy, et cetera. And they'll have certain milestones and all that kind of stuff. You need to understand that. Material substitutions or equivalent and spec changes. A lot of times they'll say, we're going to build with this, but we might use that. So be very careful with that. Inspection access limitations. They love to not let outside inspectors come into their units for obvious reasons. They want to control the whole process. Warranty notice requirements and exclusions. What is on their warranty? What's excluded? What's included? Liquidated damages, forfeiture clauses. You are not necessarily, there's a big thing, and this is with existing homes too. People think that their limitation as a buyer, that their liability is limited to whatever their deposit was. That's not the case. If you cause the seller back out at the last minute, you have a $2,000 deposit on a home, and I'm talking about an existing home, and you back out at the last minute, the seller's already moved their stuff. They've already bought another house. Now they've got 2 mortgages. They got this, that. They're going to sue you. You're not limited to $2,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. You are not limited unless there's a liquidated damages clause. Okay. HOA, CDD, assessment disclosures and fees. Make sure you understand all of that stuff. Make sure you understand that CDD never goes away. It's paid through your property taxes. It's also very foreclosable, just like your property taxes. HOA, the same. Make sure you know what assessments can be charged, et cetera, for all that stuff. CDD is a community disclosure, community development disclosure. That is, community development district. That is something that the developer turned over all the roads and retention to the homeowners association, and they are in charge of upkeeping all of that stuff. Okay, you should pay less for the house originally because you're going to pay the CDD forever for the extension of forever for the home through your property taxes. All right, and they should explain all of that stuff to you. Not every community has a CDD, but some do and some don't. But you need to know. Planned inspections, pre-drywall if allowed, pre-close, 11-month inspection strategy. Planned inspections, pre-drywall. So go in when it's just framed out, document everything, photos and punch list format, ask for a written completion plan and dates, push for rewalk, reinspection rights. Now this is going to cost your client, but they're going to make sure that the home is well built, right? Through their favorite inspector, if they have one. Some people care a lot about this. Certain personality types care a lot about this. Others just say, just give me a home. It's new. I'll be fine as long as they'll come back and fix a few things if necessary, which there almost always is a punch list after you move in for them to come out and fix. Okay. Walkthrough leverage, what to say and not say. Avoid using threats like we'll kill the deal. Use certainty. We're ready to close on time. Let's document a plan. Set dates for completion and a rewalk. Keep records. Email recap after every walkthrough. Of course, you guys keep records on everything. Email everything. Keep everything in writing. You have to protect your clients. That is part of this. And even if there's never a problem, your clients will know that you protected them through the process. They will refer you to their friends. They will use you for their next buy, etc. If you are professional about this, don't be "we'll kill the deal" type person. Just say, we're ready to close on time. Let's document a plan. Let's get this done. Let's find a way to make it happen. That's just that. Use that for every deal you ever do with existing homes as well. Okay. Builder rep relationships, firm and likable. These people can be your friends. They're not on your team, but they can be your friends. So treat them as a partner with constraints. I like that. That's a very well structured way to put it. I like that. Ask, what can you do with manager approval? They can't do anything on their own. Obviously, they have certain things that they can pretend that they're negotiating for you, just like a car salesman. They always have to go back behind the window and talk to the guy, right? I don't know if my boss is going to like this. I'll go back there. And they go back there and they laugh because they know that they can do it. But they need manager approval for everything. Trade certainty for concessions and build repeat buyer leverage. Your pipeline is valuable. So you want to create a partnership with this person, whoever they are at whatever community they are, and let them know you want to work with them again and again, and they will go to bat for you and your client. They want to sell the home just as badly as you do, maybe more. All right, 5-step builder negotiation framework: diagnose motivation, phase, inventory, timing. Bold but reasonable first ask. So you're going to diagnose, anchor, stack, trade, and confirm. Bold but reasonable first ask, then negotiate from there. 2 to 4 items from the negotiation menu. We talked about the negotiation menu. Stack them. Get what's most important to you and what's important to the client and what isn't. Learn that stuff. Trade, certainty for concessions, and confirm everything in writing. Verify lender details. So that is the 5-step builder negotiation framework: diagnose, anchor, stack, trade, and confirm. But I really want you guys, the most important thing right away is diagnose, and also to stack is very important. Find out what your buyers want, what's most important, and ask for a couple of those things, if not all of them. But you have to know what leverage you have, or you're going to fail. Okay. Opening ask inventory. We can close quickly. If you can cover blank and closing costs and include a buy down to blank percent, we can sign today. That's what they want to hear, right? We can sign today. They want to sell this thing today. If they say we don't negotiate, understood on base price, what flexibility you have on incentives, upgrades, and closing costs, especially with end of the month approaching. In fact, you guys might as well start with this. It shows some kind of understanding and that you're on their side and that you sell new homes, and that you probably will bring them more business if you understand these things up front. And of course, they're going to say we negotiate. And I would start with, look, guys, I know you can't really negotiate on the base price for your comp situation, but what flexibility do you have on incentives, upgrades, and closing costs, especially within a month, or whatever the 3 things, this is an example, whatever 3 things that your buyer said were important to them, maybe 4 things, maybe just 2 things, whatever it is. What would it take to get approval for an additional blank design credit? You know, I know you guys can't do everything without manager approval, but what would your manager approve for an additional $10,000 in design credits, right? Preferred lender. We'll consider preferred if the net is better. Please send the full quote in writing. That's a perfect thing to say. We'll consider the preferred if the net is better, meaning whatever rate or incentive they're offering you guys. If they're 6.5% and your lender, that your credit union or your broker is offering your client 6.5% instead of 7, or 5.5 instead of 6.5, then $4,000 credit doesn't help. So let's see what they're doing, what they're not doing. Okay, and get it all in writing, of course. New builds may appraise differently than resale comps, phases, incentives, and upgrades. These are appraisals issues in new construction. How to prevent surprises that blow up your deal. Typically, the builder is going to have a really good handle on this because they're selling houses in there every week, and they control their comps pretty well. Incentives can affect appraised value. Document them clearly. Inventory and spec homes often have clearer comp support than early phase to be built. Because we don't know what the comps are going to be in 9 months, right? And in this part of the neighborhood, on this lot, etc. Coach your buyers early. No appraisal contingency language in builder contracts. Make sure you have if it doesn't appraise, if it throws off our loan, we're not going to be stuck buying it. We don't have to come up with another $20,000 out of pocket than we thought we would have. Mitigation options: price adjustment request, incentive restructure, or increased down payment. This is if your mitigation, meaning if there's a problem with it, how are we going to mitigate that? How are we going to resolve that? We're going to ask for a price adjustment. Are we going to restructure our incentives? Or are we going to increase our down payment? Typically, they're going to want to restructure your incentives, okay? Because that's going to help them keep their comps up so they don't have this problem over and over again. So if that's their plan anyway. Doesn't always work. Okay, setting buyer expectations. Sell the negotiation plan. Explain. Builders rarely cut base price. Value usually comes via incentives and terms. We already know that, but explain that to your buyer. So this is setting your buyer expectations. This is probably the most important thing. Explaining to them what we can and can't do. And this makes you look like an expert. This makes them want to hold your hand and drag you into that sales office. And this is why they're going to do it next time. And you do this with them one time, and they're going to use you. Even if they don't buy right now, they end up buying a different community 3 months from now or a year from now. They're going to take you with them, because you are going to look like you know what you're doing, and you're going to know what you're doing. Set win conditions, payment target, must have upgrades, risk protections, etc. So what does a win look like to you guys? If you're talking to your buyer, you're going to explain to them, look, they rarely cut their base price, and they want to keep their comparables high for their other sales in the neighborhood. It makes complete sense, right? They can't sell one for $450 today and $550 tomorrow. They won't appraise. So explain that to them. Set win conditions. So what looks like a win to you guys? What's most important to you? Give them the menu and decide what's that. Create a decision rule. If we hit 2 out of 3 of these wins, then we're going to buy, right? You're boxing your client too. So the sales center wants to box your client. We say, if we do X, can you do Y? Or you're doing that with the sales center, and they love that, right? Because, oh yeah, if we hit that, then you'll sign today. Great. But you're going to do that with your clients too. You're going to say, well, so we hit 2 of these top 3. That sounds like a win to us. But if we can't do that, it's more of if we can't do that, then we won't buy. But if we do, then this is the house that you want, right? Warn about construction timelines and change orders. Guys, we want to be pretty clear about what we want up front, especially when you get that design center, et cetera. If this is what you want, we need to be clear. If you decide you want the den instead of the other office and half bath, we need to decide that today. If we go change it later, I don't care if it's just moving a 6-foot half wall. It's still going to cost us a bunch of money to change it later. That's a change order. It's going to affect the money, and it's going to affect the schedule. It's going to take more time and cost us more money. So it's important to get what you want today. You can change your mind later, but just know that it's going to cost you money and time. And confirm next steps in writing with every builder conversation. So we're going to talk with our buyer every single time in writing. We're going to email them, recap. If we had to take them to 3 builders over 3 weekends, we're going to recap after each one and say they were able to do this and this for us. They weren't able to do that and that. So that way we can go back, and we may end up going back to the first or second builder after the 3rd one and saying, you know what, we got 2 out of 3 here. Let's go with that one. And we're making the best decision. We're a team, and we're making the best decision. Okay, this is your checklist. 1-page builder deal checklist. Before contract, you get their incentive sheet and triggers confirmed in writing. You get their inventory phase timing assessed. Must have versus nice to have list. Preferred lender comparison plan. Okay, you get all of that stuff. The must have versus nice to have. That's off that menu with your buyers. You meet with them before you go, and you decide what we really need and what would be nice. What do you guys, what's priority 1, what's priority 2, what's priority 2A, 2B, etc. During the contract, you work on their deposit refundability dates. Try to push those out as much as you can if they're non-refundable. Key addenda reviewed. We talked about the HOA, all that kind of stuff, and the time and the materials, etc. Material substitution that they like to do. If they get something cheaper, they might do it, and it may be a better material that they just got a better deal on. But just make sure that it's comparable. Timeline expectations set during the contract, so everybody knows when we're going to be closing, etc. And make sure that their extensions, in case they're not finished, are not ridiculous and don't benefit your buyer somehow. They need to. And after a contract, inspection schedule planned, walkthrough and punch list process, 11-month warranty reminder set. Okay. So remind them that their warranty is running out. You can set that reminder for yourself and for them to remind them after 11 months that their 1-year warranty is running out. They need to get anything fixed. They need to report anything they need to get fixed. Okay, but you're a great agent, so you're going to be in contact with them anyway. And that's a great reason to reach out to them and say, hey guys, you guys bought 11 months ago today. Let's make sure we go through the house and see, is there anything you guys want done from there? Give them a punch list for warranty items so they'll come in and fix them. Because if you wait 12 months and 1 day, they're not going to fix anything for free. Okay. So I think that's it. Yes, that's it. Any other questions on that? Let's talk about it. Anybody have any questions? Anybody alive? Did I bore you all to death?
Hey Ryan, can you can we get a copy of especially about that, those last pages there about
I'll send you the whole thing.
all right, thank you.
You bet. Anyone else still alive? I didn't kill Chad. Anyone else still alive? I hope my sound was on that whole time. All right. Well, no questions. Gigi's alive. Thank you, Gigi. Proof of life. All right. So there is a ton of great info in there, guys. And I do like to toot my own horn, but that is a ton of great info in there. Researching this, I learned a few things too. And I definitely learned some of the things that are important for expressing this to buyers, what we actually do. And this is all kinds of stuff that you guys knew. And like somebody said, thanks for the refresher. Absolutely. You knew all this stuff. A lot of people aren't doing it. Tammy, you have a question?
Could you repeat all of that? No, I'm driving, so I didn't want to seem like a dud, but it was very good. But I couldn't really respond or do much. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate the pity response, but I was excited about this. I think it's really great stuff. Yes, Christina.
Hey, I was curious if anybody has tried the Stellar Benefit, the Raise, RAYSE. It is something where I think you can track like your activities that you're doing for buyers or sellers. It might go well with like new home sales activities. It's like you can kind of track what you're doing.
Okay, I'll check into that. RAYSE or SE?
SE, and it's like it's either a benefit through Aura. I think it's a Stellar MLS benefit. So anybody that is a Stellar member, I think you can just go into that login, that landing page, and it will direct you there. But it's like, I haven't tried it, but it is basically it's just a way to kind of, the way I understand it, to kind of document and be able to show, like, hey, this is what I'm doing for you. Like, I'm not just opening doors. I did this research for the builder, so on and so forth.
Awesome. And I love that. And I want you guys, and I've told you guys this before, and I've told some of you in person when we've met, and you've said, how can I get going? How can I sell some real estate? Besides buying leads, et cetera. And I always tell you, a free thing you can do is go learn about new construction. Go to the sales centers at these places and talk to Maria, talk to Benjamin, talk to whoever is the salesperson. I just made those people up. Go talk to them and find out these incentives, find out these things, and make social media posts about them. Take a video of the open lots, the available lots. Look at these lots on this that back up to this conservation area. Look at these on the retention pond. Look at these on this. Of course, you don't call it. You say waterfront, but you guys get it's building value and all that stuff. But let them know that you're out there working for them, and even if you don't know who they are yet, you're out there working for them. This is what you do. You're a professional. Just stop by and saw my friend Maria at Lennar today at Oakview Crossings, whatever it is, and they have they only have 3 lots available on this conservation area, and blah 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 blah. Right? You're just showing that you know what you're doing and you're putting in the work. You're not just somebody that says, hey, write me down as your agent when you go buy a new home, and like my friend did, and I did absolutely nothing for him. But make sure that you're doing that. Christine, do you have another question, or is your hand just still up?
Oh no, my hand must still be up.
All right, gotcha. Any other questions on this stuff? I think it's, guys, I just want you to get this stuff across to people for new construction, that you are of value, because they don't think you are. And a lot of you don't really know how to negotiate. I've had people tell me, what do I tell them I'm going to negotiate for them? Well, this is how you do it, but you have to put in the work. You don't just show up and negotiate. But you go talk to Maria and see do you have any inventory homes? Do you have any, what have you had sitting around for a while that you can't sell? What if you, you know, whatever it is, or just have it sold, or somebody backed out of it at the last minute, or something like that. A lot of times they just have houses that they'll give, you know, they kept a $30,000 deposit on a house because the buyer backed out. Well, they might give an incentive on that, right? They've already made 30,000. Yes, Christina.
Another thing, I started when I got my license. That's what I did. I did new home sales. And and there were a lot of tricks. This was kind of as the boom was, this is like an 05, 06, 07 times. But there's a lot of like ways that they can, and it's another thing, just to advise them like what's happening, give them the other options, let them know like what else is happening. But like the builders will, they'll build, you know, padding into like the lot prices or the options. And so it's like, I always told people structural stuff, great to do with the builder, but you can probably get a better deal on a different paint color, if you don't want the basic builder white, blinds, even a flooring swap, like just certain things like that, because there is like a 40% markup, and just showing them what else is out there and like having them be aware, like, they'll put a lot of padding into things like the lot premiums. So like that's another good opportunity to negotiate, with things like that. They used to sometimes give us bonuses if we could, charge more for lots. They charge whatever you want, we'll give you a bonus. So they have a lot of ways to hide like hidden costs. So if we can help them, uncover that, that's usually a good value.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Christina. And we talked about like the appliances and stuff, like, they buy in bulk and they don't, it's no difference from them. It makes no difference to sub out a different color for the inside of the house. That's just something they can charge you for. Nobody wants a white house that looks like a hospital, right? So on the inside. And so it's the kind of thing, like you said, there's 40% built into that. So when you ask for $10,000 of design credit, you're really only asking for $6,000 for the builder, right? It's only $6,000 worth of stuff, if it's even that much, out of the builder's pocket. So it's those kinds of things that they're more willing to negotiate than straight up money, right? They'd rather do design credits than money, because they know you'll spend more in the design. Same reason people give you they'll give you a free coffee if you spend $15 at a restaurant, right? Or whatever it is. They'll throw stuff in to get you to come there. That's why people give coupons, because they know that you'll get them in the store and then you'll buy more stuff when you get there. So yeah, great point. And that's exactly what the kind of thing that they want to negotiate. And I can assure you, as someone who used to sell land to people to build subdivisions, that they are going to that they charge for premium lots. Premium lots are just ones where they put their retention ponds that they have to put in anyway. The ones that back up to that is not premium land at all. When they bought the land, they weren't charged more for that. Obviously, it didn't even exist, the retention pond. They created the retention pond, and the ones that back up to, they want to sell you more. The ones that back up to a conservation area, which is typically wetlands or something that they couldn't build on anyway. So they pay very little for that part of the land, and they charge you more for it. So yeah, it's made up. The lot premiums are made up. They're nicer and people will pay more for them, but they weren't a real thing when they bought the property. So yeah, it's a fluff. Great point. Any other, and I love that you used to sell new homes, and that's something you ought to be advertising to people when hey, come buy a new home for me. I've been one of them before. There's some attorney that advertises in Orlando that I used to be an insurance lawyer, so hire me to sue the insurance company, right? So it's a great shtick. I know what they're doing. I used to be one of them. So there you go. Any questions otherwise? Any comments? I want to talk to you guys about a form also, which I was prepared for, but now I do not see it on my screen. I must have X'd out of it. But we're going to do it anyway. So I want to talk about the new compensation agreement. This is two times in 2 days that I've had this problem. The new compensation agreement, and we're going to look at it right now. Here we go, because this is the part that we're having a problem with. They have changed some things here, obviously. Now it is one form for whoever it is. If you guys missed last week, I'm going to go over this right now. One form for whoever it is, whether it's a seller or the seller's broker to buyer's broker. We did, prior to this month, have separate forms for this. There's either a seller to buyer's broker or a seller's broker to buyer's broker. You guys would call me and say, hey, I'm representing this buyer. And the listing agent told me to send them the form. I don't know which form to use. Well, I don't know either. It's whatever's on their listing agreement, right? They should have told you. But now they don't have to, because it's the same form no matter what. You should know by now who it is by the time you fill this form out, but you don't. So you're going to send this with your buyer's broker information, Florida Realty Investments. You're going to send the property address, obviously the buyer, property is listed by seller's broker, or if it's not listed here. If it's not listed, you don't need this form anyway, but you just write it on the contract because it's off market. And this is an MLS NAR rule. But regardless, you're going to be clicking this by seller's broker, whomever they are. This is where you do want to put their brokerage name, your buyer's name. If you know you're going to be filling this out typically because listing agents are lazy. So you'll go ahead and put your buyers, but regardless, by the time this is done, you're going to complete, it will be applicable. The term, doesn't matter what you put here. It's for this agent and this buyer, typically 15 because that's what it says. But there is no, 30 days is fine. Somebody put 60 on one, and our listing agent, somebody else sent one with 60, and our listing agent called me and said, is this okay? Yeah, because it's for that agent, for this property, for this buyer. If they're the procuring cause, regardless, you're not going to steal their buyer anyway. It doesn't matter. That's up to the buyer, really. If the buyer comes back with another agent, the buyer fires this agent, comes back within that time frame with another agent, then they're going to owe both, but you're not. All right, so percent of the gross price here, but this is where it's a problem. Dispute resolution arbitration. This is very poorly done. I would never turn in a paper or do anything that starts a new heading on the bottom of a page like this. This is ridiculous. It looks like you're agreeing to something here, but you're really just approving this page. That was part of the confusion. You're not signing for resolution arbitration here. You're signing, this is page 1 of 2. Is all you're acknowledging. Your receipt, you're acknowledging the receipt of a copy of this page, which is page 1 of 2. So this is confusing to start with. This is very poorly done. If you guys wrote a form, your own form like this, and send it to me, I'd say don't start a new thing there. That's ridiculous. Okay. If seller is compensating buyer's broker and all controversy claims and other matters in question, this part I want to go through. Between the parties arising out of or relating to this agreement or breach thereof will be settled by first attempting mediation with a mediator agreed upon by the parties. If litigation arises out of this agreement, the prevailing party will be entitled to recover reasonable attorney's fees and costs unless the parties agree to the disputes will be settled by arbitration as follows. This does not need to be done. I just had one of you this morning send me something at a closer at a title company said, oh, everything has to be initialed. No, it does not. It just says right here, if litigation is running, the prevailing party will be entitled to recover reasonable attorney's fees costs unless the parties agree that disputes will be settled by arbitration as follows. This is only for arbitration. You do not have to agree to this. That is so dumb that they would send that. And so that absolutely does not need to be done. If seller broker is compensating buyer's broker by initialing this in the space provided, seller's broker or authorized associate and buyer's broker agree that unresolvable dispute between seller's broker and buyer's broker will be submitted in binding arbitration by mutual agreement arbitrator. So that's what this is agreeing to. If not, then it's not. Miscellaneous clauses. So that's saying, so first of all, this one is only for the seller. If seller is compensating buyer's broker, then this. If the seller's broker is, then okay, so neither one has to go to arbitration. Okay, this is for the seller if seller is compensating buyer's broker. So the title company was telling her everything here needs to be initial. Well, obviously they don't, because not both the seller and seller's broker aren't compensating the buyer's broker. And you don't have to agree to arbitration. It says, unless the parties agree that dispute will be settled by arbitration as follows. So this is a different one. If seller's broker is compensating buyer's broker, then by initialing in the space provided, seller's broker and authorized associate and buyer's broker agree that unresolved dispute between the two will be, you don't have to do arbitration, right? There you go. Miscellaneous clauses, etc. Right? Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. This has changed. This all has changed. These both don't, they're saying everything needs to be initial. It can't, all be initialed because both the seller and the seller's broker aren't doing this, and the seller would have to initial here, not the seller's broker. So what happened is the buyer's broker initialed all of these, and the title company saying, no, you need to initial all of these. Well, no, you can't. You literally can't. And the buyer's broker shouldn't have done that because the buyer's broker didn't know what they were doing. So there you go. Any questions on that form? You guys are going to have that come up. And I don't care if you do arbitration or not. Our attorney doesn't like it because of this thing, because of when you do arbitration, there can be it's going to cost you both money, and it can be a completely frivolous thing. And the person bringing the frivolous thing has to pay their attorney and you have to pay yours, which is ridiculous if it's a frivolous claim against you, and it'll be not worth fighting for, because if this is a $5,000 or a $10,000 thing, by the time you pay your attorney $5,000 or $10,000, not going to be any money left for anybody. So arbitration is ridiculous. But if someone sues me for $10,000 and my attorney is $6,000, but if the losing party has to pay them, then I'm going to fight it, because they're going to have to pay my attorney, right? And I'm going to get my $10,000. Okay, so there you go. Carolina.
So what do you suggest for these? I know that in the paperless pipeline, this is crossed off. And typically, should we use those forms?
No, these are the new forms. Don't use them on the paper. We're going to take them off if I haven't already. So we're going to take them off because they're not, this is the new form.
Okay.
We don't, we got, you guys, I've had maybe 5 people say the other party won't accept this because of it's crossed out. Okay. That's fine. I don't care if you guys want to go to arbitrate. We don't have a lot of people fighting over this stuff. This is just in the 1 in 1,000 that they do fight over something. Then it's not going to go to.
Do we have to sign that?
No, you don't have to. No, it says if you want to do it this way, unless the parties agree that disputes will be settled by arbitration as follows. So this is saying litigation, that you have to go to mediation, but if litigation arises out of it, the prevailing party will be entitled to recover reasonable attorney's fees and costs. So there you go.
Okay.
Well, if you frivolously, let's say you frivolously sue me for some kind of commission that you're completely wrong about, I'm going to say let's go to mediation and let's create, let's sue me, and you're going to sue me in regular court, and I'm going to get you to pay my attorney fees if I win. Okay, so it is worth fighting for if I win, and we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We're talking about typically $8,000 to $12,000, $5,000, something like that. That's attorneys will eat that up in no time if we go to arbitration, because we're showing up in arbitration with an attorney. You're not going to arbitration by yourself. So you show up in arbitration with an attorney, and they sit there, and this stuff is all morning. It's going to be thousands of dollars to have an attorney engaged in this.
So in the past, there's FREC, right, that handles certain things. They're not doing that anymore. And is
FREC wouldn't be doing this. FREC doesn't handle things. No, the board would typically have handled any kind of commission dispute after a deal closes. And I don't pay you because you weren't the procuring cause. In my mind, somebody else was, or whatever happens, right? I stole your client after you signed a buyer brokerage agreement, whatever, right? We used to go to the board, and the board would determine that, and they still will. Okay.
Okay.
But even then, it's hit and miss, and you've got 5 other real estate agents, deciding where that money goes. But that was theoretically free or close to a $500 or something like that. FREC was only involved with a major violation of DBPR. So if you have to go before FREC, you're in trouble. But FREC wouldn't decide commission between me and you. So on commercial deals, anything outside of people who are not members of NAR, which is typically commercial people, stuff like that, that's a real procuring cause. You go in front of a judge, and the loser pays the winner's fees. That's how that happens in a commercial deal. If I get cut out of a commercial commission, then I sue the people, and I go to court. And if I win, then they pay my legal fees. If I lose, I pay their legal fees. So it's a risk, and you got to be sure you're going to win. And most people typically, even in that case, will settle because they're only 80% sure they're going to win, right? So that's the case. But typically these things are going to be settled anyway. So this happens very, I mean, there's lots of disputes between people, but these are typically just settled. Any questions about that? All right. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming today. I think we had a really good one. Oh, I want to tell you guys, Chad, I'm going to call on you in a second. This is going to be useful info too. On February 9th or 11th. Oh, no, the 11th, Wednesday, the 11th. Instead of an open forum on Wednesday, 11th, not next week, 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, the 11th, we're going to have headshots at the office for free. You guys want to get your headshots done for free. We're going to have a headshot event at the office for free. Come on in and get your headshots. So you got 2 weeks to get your hair and
At
makeup
what
done.
time? Oh man, I have a Zoom mediation.
Well, we'll be doing it for hours. So it's going to be at the office on the 11th. Time to be determined, but it'll probably be like all morning or something.
Okay.
Probably from 10 to, he won't start too early, probably 10 to 2 or something like that.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right?
perfect.
That sounds good to everybody? We'll have a sign-up sheet that we'll distribute so you guys can claim a time. We'll probably do, 5 or 10 minute increments, probably 10-minute increments, whatever Alexi's doing it. So whatever he wants to do. But last time he got through everybody really quickly. 5 minutes was about all he needed with anybody. And he did great. They did a good job.
And maybe you could cover the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, and short sale that we talked about yesterday.
Okay, let's talk about that. So you've got a deal. So if you've got to pay off, you've got a net sheet, right? If you did sell it for a certain amount, get a couple of different net sheets for them. That sounds definitely like it's going to be a short sale, Carolina. Do not let them foreclose. Contact the bank. Get your seller some time in the home. Save their credit some. Get them a short sale. If you want to talk to Hien, I believe she's on the call. She's a short sale expert. Hien Nguyen. She's one of our agents. I'll send you her information.
Okay.
She runs Florida Short Sale Solutions as well. She's very experienced in this. She's done it for many, many years, since 2010 or something, 2009, since back then. She's a great negotiator, and she gets paid from the deal, through the deal, typically either by the buyer or the lender. So doesn't cost the seller.
So so a regular listing would work with several areas to discuss with the mortgage company before it forecloses, correct?
So, a short sale, yeah. Or I mean, I don't know if your buyer probably can't come out of pocket and pay the difference. So it could probably be, from the numbers you shared with me, it'd probably be $20,000.
Okay.
Or something. So if your seller can't come to the table with $20,000, she's pretty much, or he, whoever is pretty much, I think you said it was a she, pretty much cooked on this. They're going to do a short sale.
Okay.
And no circumstance can she walk with money after a short sale, but at least she won't have to show up with $25,000 to close it.
Okay.
Right? From the numbers you shared with me, it looked like it would be about that.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. So there's a short sale addendum. There's all that stuff. But I'm going to give you Hien's information. You can talk to her. Christina.
Hey, I wanted to also talk about something that I had going on with a sale I have with solar panels. And just to kind of, I hadn't run into this one before, just to kind of give people a heads up, just something that I have encountered. We found somebody that was interested in basically assuming the balance of the solar panel loan. It's about $50,000. And the buyer was willing to do it. And I'm just 100% confident these solar salesmen are not explaining this properly to people. We've initiated the process, and we're gonna work it out. But essentially, in that purchase of the solar panels, because we knew they were assumable, but she wasn't aware somehow, some way there is a $16,000 tax credit in that balance. So the buyer cannot assume that balance. So now the seller is it's good news for the buyer, because now instead of assuming $50,000 of debt, they assume $34,000 of debt. But they are going to in initiating the process, we're finding out, okay, there's $16,000. They'll accept that payment at close, but the buyer can't assume it. So the seller has to basically assume or, take care of that balance at close. Otherwise there's no go. So I just found that to be interesting. I've done, a decent amount of sales with solar panels. But in this case, the new buyer cannot assume that tax credit balance, and she wasn't really informed about it. So now she's got to eat a $16,000 cost at close. So just be aware, like, if you're selling one or if somebody's buying one, it's just, even just knowing that it's assumable, we got to find, exactly what the process is, because that was surprising to us.
Okay.
Isn't a tax credit though for exemptions on your taxes, where you get that 16,000 as a credit, and not really, is that a loan or a balance on a mortgage? I didn't think it was.
They didn't do a good job of explaining it. The person that I talked to was like, I don't know, talk to a CPA. That's literally what they told me. That's the other thing. Like, you're not, she was nice, but she was essentially it's part of what she has to pay off in order to resolve that loan and be able to deliver clear title and sell that house. So, I think what you're saying is accurate. Like, there should have, there's some gain that she's supposed to get. I don't know. She got these panels in like 21 or 22. So she's going to have to look at her returns. I don't think that she's realized $16,000 in tax credits exactly. If somebody else understands a little better how that works, I'm happy to hear them out. And we're looking into it. But at this point, they're saying, hey, you haven't paid us. What she explained poorly was that you haven't paid us back for this tax credit. The buyer can't assume that, so you have to pay it back at closing. So they did a really terrible job of explaining it, unfortunately. I think it is along those lines where she's supposed to have realized some tax, but I don't know that she's realized all 16,000 of it, at this point. But the buyer cannot assume that. That is her debt.
But it could be a benefit to her if she finds out the seller. I don't know if you're a seller or a buyer's agent.
I'm the listing agent. Yeah, I represent the seller.
So then it would be worth it to do, because it would be a wash for her, because she'll get the tax credit even if she has to do that at closing.
She has to pay it back. So it's good for the purchaser. For my customer, it's bad. She's going to have to pay back the $16,000, and she's had the system for a short number of years. So just something, for people, if you have a seller that's selling with that and somebody's assuming the balance, it's just another thing to be aware of. And then if somebody considering, I would just say another thing to caution people if they're going to get these panels, if they're getting a tax credit, what are the details, on repayment of that. So great news for the buyer. They are now taking on 16,000 and change less debt. Bad news for my seller.
Yes, that is. But you've talked to me about that before, and I was surprised that the buyer was taking on all those panels and all that stuff, but that's the payment on it. So yeah, that is bad news for your seller. That's crazy. There's so much stuff that goes on with solar panels. It's just such a mess. For real estate.
Yeah, and they didn't explain it. So it's just, I hadn't seen that one. I have another friend that was selling a deal. He was representing the buyer, and the panel, the company that installed the panels was going bankrupt. So there's a lot of issues. It's just, now for me, what I'm learning from this is, okay, when we're listing a house with solar panels, we need to find out exactly, if assumption is on the table, exactly what are the terms of that assumption. And also, she was behind, on her payments by like a month or two, which is, really why she's selling. It's not affordable for her to maintain 2 residences anymore. And so a couple of things, you have to be current on your payments, which I thought, like, okay, can't we just settle all of this at close? For this particular company, it's Better Earth and dividend finance. You have to be up to date on your payments, your monthly payments to the solar company. You can't just settle any past due debt at close. So she's going to have to do that. And then she's going to have to eat the 16K at close. So this is better earth and dividend finance, but just another thing that can happen to be where I hadn't seen this before, so I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Wow. One day they will have a better way to harness the sun than what they have now. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go? Chad Taylor.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to drop a quick note. I've gotten a couple questions this week on the mortgage side. People asking about minimum credit scores. And FHA typically for 3.5% goes down to 580, but you can go down to 500 if they're willing to put down 10% on it. So just wanted to remind everybody that even below 580, they can still go as long as they have 10% to put down. And I made a kind of a mortgage 101 sheet. I'm going to drop a link in the chat if anybody wants. That kind of breaks down the three things lenders are looking for borrowers. If you'd like a co-branded version, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to send it to you.
Yeah, put it on our Facebook page if you don't mind.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll reach more people that way. I mean, there's 38 people in here now, but you'll reach more on the Facebook page. All right, guys. We will see you next week. Don't forget the headshots the following week, not next week, the following week, the 11th. And yeah, Chad's just put his stuff in there. I'm going to give him a minute to sit in there in case you guys want to get a hold of that. He's doing co-branding and stuff as well. All right, guys. And Chad, put your co-branding stuff on the FRI agent page as well. All right, guys.
Will do.
I'll see you next week. I'm going to leave you guys in here. I'm going to go, but I'm going to leave you guys in here, and I will see you next time. Hopefully you got something good out of this and you can start selling some new homes. It's not just a stand by and let them do everything. You've got to cultivate it. You've got to show them your value and tell them why it's worth. Don't just go without me. Don't forget to put my name down. Right. So let's go and get all that stuff down. And now, guys, you've got to meet with these people anyway for the buyer brokerage agreement. Get all this stuff out of them and let them know. I would create some kind of little package to give them, even if they're not looking at new homes, because how many times are they not looking at new homes when you first meet with them and then they call you and said, oh, I went to the sales center. That happens. People change their mind. They start looking, they think what their $500,000 is going to buy them is a super nice house, which it was not too long ago. And now they go look at them and they're like, wow, it's just so much work on all these houses. Let's consider a new house. They'll drive by a new home subdivision on the way home and they'll stop in and they didn't even think of you. So make sure they know at the beginning that if you guys change your mind and you want to buy a new home, I've got a little book here for you guys. I can take you through this. We can negotiate the best deal for you, right? Some kind of something that gives you, that lets them know that you're an expert on negotiating for a new home as well. All right. So that's that. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go, but I'm going to let you guys stay if you want. Bye, everybody.